You're listening to the Armchair Ninja podcast. Here is your host, Rich.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja podcast. It is Thursday, April 28th, 2016. My name is Rich, and with me, once again, is Bijan. How you making out this week?
What up, man? Just got over a Game of Thrones hangover, and guess what? We're just a little over a month away from American Ninja Warrior coming back. I am psyched, man.
Yeah, can't wait for it. It is funny that we've been doing this podcast almost exclusively out of season, right? It's the whole thing. Like, you joined me for the Vegas finals last season. We got to do a whole season together. In addition to Spartan, we're going to be really busy this summer.
Dude, we are going to be just overbooked with so much material, so much stuff to talk about. I'm really, really excited. Kind of worried at the same time, like, oh my God, well, I'm going to have any free time. But it's going to be a fun, fun summer. And I hope the listeners are all prepared for, going on this journey with us.
Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. And I hope you do join us and stick with us. So speaking of lots of fun stuff and cool stuff, last week we talked about the Stronger Men's Conference, which was a really cool course that we saw in this event that happened. And the designer of that course, because we went on about it at length, it was like really cool. Jason Huewe, the Ninja Architect, actually reached out to us, and this week we have an interview with him. That's what the bulk of the show is going to be, our interview with Jason Huewe. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to that interview right now, and when it comes back, we'll chat about what we learned. Okay, Jason, thanks for joining me this week. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So for anyone that's not familiar, Jason Huewe is the founder of Upstream Design Company. That is the company that put together the course that we discussed last week. So that is the James River Church Stronger Men's Conference. And Jason's actually been a competitor on the show as well on American Ninja Warrior. He was on seasons 2, 3, 5, and 6, and he was known as the Ninja Architect.
Yes, that's right.
Let's talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind, first.
Sure.
The first couple seasons, you had been on 2 and 3. That's pretty early on. And then you came back in 5 and 6 as a walk-on.
Yeah.
What was that like, I guess, the difference between being getting the call and doing the walk-on?
The difference is more gray hairs.
I would imagine. And this is the first season that I've been so heavily involved in the community and seeing the stress of everybody, the walk-ons especially, not knowing if they're going to get on or not.
Yeah. So back in the early days, I came in after season 1. So I started back in 2010. And I was lucky enough to produce probably one of the, comparatively to the rest of my videos, some of my worst videos got picked, but that was back in the G4 days. And standards weren't quite as high, and they were looking for more athletics, we believe, at that time. When NBC started to get involved, they wanted to start developing the story, and that's when it wasn't so much the majority factor being determined on your athleticism, but more of like how the viewership and their customers can become engaged into the show and into your story. And that's when things changed up a bit.
Is that when you brought on your training partner, Buddy?
Oh, Buddy the Monkey?
Yeah, Buddy the Monkey. For anyone that's not familiar, Jason has a stuffed monkey that's been running the courses with him in his submission videos and on the actual course, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that is a long story there. Buddy showed up in season 5, or right after season 5. And Buddy is now retired, as so am I. I'm no longer a competing Ninja Warrior anymore. But Buddy came around after the first time I was a walk-on in season 5. So I walked on in Venice, got processed, was ready to roll, but they shut down the set because the sun started to rise, and that was it. And they hadn't gotten to my number yet. Harsh. Yeah, but that's part of it, and was really determined. So saved up my money. Community came together for me, did some fundraising, and ended up flying out to Denver. Got there 3 days ahead of time, which was the longest any walk online had been around for at that period, was 3 days. Now, nowadays we're looking at 2 weeks. Stayed out for there, and then was the very last person allowed to compete in Denver. So right after my run, they shut the lights off. So I barely snuck in. And that whole experience there changed who I was a lot. And I started to get out of the athletic side of Ninja Warrior training. It became, I just lost the drive for the full, I want to go to Mount Midoriyama. It became more of a support ninja, where I wanted to help build the community, support other people's dreams and realizations. And so Buddy came as a physical manifestation of that. So, you hear the old saying, everything's harder with a monkey on your back.
Interesting. So you've basically transitioned into course designer from that. Were you building the courses back in the early days, or that just kind of led into it from there?
No. As far as Upstream Designs, that company came out of the CCNWTC, which is the Central California Ninja Warrior Training Course. And that's an old retired course. It was a private backyard course that I had designed back in California. Me personally, I've always been a person that designs, invents, and builds things since I was a young child, and I grew up with my father, who was a carpenter and a very talented handyman. So I learned a lot from my dad, and then I did stuff from building skateboard ramps, skate parks, miniature skate parks, and then I transitioned into Ninja Warrior. And like I said, there's a pretty long history here, unless you want your podcast to be an hour long.
I can pick and choose. That's okay. We'll. It's really interesting, though.
If you're going that deep into my history, I'll just let you know you're going to be here for like 2 hours.
Well, I've got some notes here. I've got lots of questions on your history. So let's jump into one example. Okay. The rig at Slingshot Entertainment. That's pretty impressive. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, the rig at Slingshot, that was the Ninja Playground. It's about 12,000 square feet large, which makes it the largest indoor Ninja Playground essentially in the world. It has over 40 plus obstacles and features inside of it, and is just a really fun park to be in. That's how it was designed, was to have the general public be able to come in and experience sort of how it feels like to be on the television show or to be a ninja. And everything's a little bit easier or at maybe the level of the television show on NBC. So it's a really fun, really great place. It's 2 different levels. We call it the rig because when it was all finished, it ended up sort of looking like an oil rig. Tons of crazy safety features in there. We went to the max, tried to make it the safest we absolutely can. Instead of using foam pits or crash pits, which a lot of people have been using, we changed the game and we decided to use these professional stunt airbags, which is great. You can fall from 10 feet basically on your neck and walk out just fine.
Nice. From looking at the videos of it, I'm pretty intimidated by the courses. I've seen them in person, and as someone who's not in the best of shape, I would be scared to try a lot of obstacles. But from the videos of what I've seen of Slingshot Entertainment, it's so padded. I would feel pretty comfortable jumping around there and trying some of the stuff out.
Yeah, and that's one of the whole ideas behind it. It's just make it really inviting. And we've had people from all different ages, backgrounds, fitness levels. I saw a gentleman, he was probably about, I would say, around 320 plus pounds.
Wow.
Large fella, and he decided to do one of the original obstacles I created for Slingshot called the Halo Shooter, which is essentially you start up 6 feet above the ground, you grab a disc that slides downhill and abruptly stops, and it throws you, and you have to try to catch another disc. And then once you grab that one, you dismount to the platform. Well, I'm like, oh man, well, let's see if all the engineering stands up. So the guy, sure enough, he grabs a hold of the disc and he starts sliding down, and he lets go right before that disc hits the end of its track. But he falls right into the airbag and safely climbs right on out. So it's great to see that anybody of all age ranges, weight limits, and everything can go about and try these obstacles. Well, the majority of them anyways.
Yeah, it seemed to be really popular with kids. We watch a lot of Ninja Warrior videos. YouTube is just polluted with kids playing and doing their own submission videos. And I have to say, watching them on your course, or the one you designed, I should say, at Slingshot Entertainment is crazy. I mean, there's so much netting and so much for them to bounce on, and these weird, like little miniature versions of some of the most popular ninja obstacles. They must just absolutely love it.
Yeah, they do, and they get a blast from it. They run around, they create their own challenges, and it's great too. Seeing some kids nowadays. The problem is nowadays there's too many playgrounds that don't offer rewards, meaning, everything's super easy. Your children, psychologically wise, doesn't come across as a challenge to them. So they go ahead and they grow up in these playgrounds that have been revamped from what we're used to. We're used to the old giant metal ones that were stuck around, that were a little bit more dangerous, and you had to climb up things really high with no safety around you. So the fact is our kids are growing up with not knowing how to mitigate fear and excitement and the feeling of joy when you overcome a challenge or something that scares you. So it's the fact that these more technique and challenging obstacles, some require more mental strength where they may scare the children, but once they get it or they get to the top, they do it multiple times and they end up overcoming their fear, and it builds them up as a stronger child, which turns them into a stronger adult, which I think is very important in these days when everyone's trying to set up everything in our culture that you can't lose or there's always a winner. And it's healthy for children and for us to realize, hey, you know what? Everyone's going to lose at some point in time, but as long as you keep on trying and you eventually get it, that's what's important.
That's a very good point. And I think one of the greatest lessons from the show, up until this past season, we didn't have anyone complete the course. So everybody failed, basically. Everybody failed at some point along the way, and it was just picking themselves back up and continuing on. That there was such a great lesson for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to circle back to the Stronger Men's Conference. That course actually kind of stole the show for us last week. Bijan and I kept talking about the course rather than the actual ninjas. So I want to take one quick second to say congratulations to Geoff Britten on taking first place, Ian Dory for taking second, and Neil Craver ended up taking third.
Yep. And then you also had Josh Cook taking first, Joseph Morvarsky taking second, and excuse me if I forget his name, Jonathan Parr taking third at the West course.
Oh, see, I missed that, and it took me quite a while to find the first, second, and third place finishes for the other one. So there was two courses. Okay, what was the difference, I guess, between the East and West course?
Nothing.
Just identical courses?
The Stronger Men Conference 2016 by James River Church is an incredible conference that is set up for these gentlemen, teenagers and adults, to grow stronger in their relationship with God, and then also as men and becoming stronger as well in that regard. So they have a multitude of activities the first day, from going through actual SWAT training to playing soccer and bubble balls to smashing cars with sledgehammers, hot rod shows, all this other stuff. And the main entertainment for this year was the Strongest Warrior competition, which was a competitive course that Upstream Designs took on, and that we designed the entire course and oversaw the assembly. What made this year unique for James River Church is that they had such a huge demand for people wanting to attend that they split it between two campuses. So total, they had nearly 6,000 men in attendance between two different campuses. You had the South Campus and the West Campus. So we had to design a course, and it was identical. and then build 2 of them simultaneously at both locations.
Wow. Okay, that's even more impressive. And it sounded like you had a tight deadline too.
Oh yeah, it was really small. So they reached out, I would say somewhere around 3 months. We were talking about it, pinning around the ideas, how big do we want the course? In early talks, it was, one course is going to be 7 obstacles long, and the large course, which is south was the large location, would be somewhere around 9 to 10 obstacles long. And then the television show Team Ninja Warrior came on. We thought, whoa, wouldn't that be amazing to mimic something like that? So we started to entertain that. And then once the church started to get their numbers together, they said, okay, well, we're going to need to scale this back a little bit. So we brought everything back down to the same standard and decided to stick on a 6-obstacle format. And we had a 7th obstacle, which was actually the 40-foot rope climb via a 30-plus ton crane coming in to hoist that up.
Yeah, it was really impressive. So I'm curious how that worked, because it wasn't near your home and your company. So how did you ship everything there, or was it subcontracted? How did the actual
everything was contracted out. So we, myself and Upstream, we worked with James River. We had our main contact there, and we create all the drawings. We create everything in CAD. We send out all the professional drawings to our carpenter that was there. They had Russ Wilder from Russ Wilder Homes. He's a custom home builder. Sent them all the plans for the wooden obstacles. So they start construction of that. Then they had 1 or 2 metal fabricators that our plans were sent off to, that the local metal fabricators started working on. And then as far as trussing, they searched around and found a production company out of California that would supply the truss and build everything. And I sent all the drawings over and the designs for the course to that company, and then worked with that company to make sure the whole layout of the course and all the blocks and everything lined up perfectly. And then we all met up on site and assembled everything together according to the plans that we created. So essentially, we had 5 days to construct 2 identical 6-obstacle courses.
That's a pretty impressive feat, I have to say.
It was pretty intense.
And you would expect it to show, but it absolutely does not show the limited time frame. It is a fantastic course. Looking at some of your other notes, kind of creepy on Facebook and your website and everything. So can you give us a kind of hint? You piqued my interest. Da Vinci's Hanger, how are you making out with it?
Da Vinci's Hanger was one of our black book obstacles. A black book obstacle is, well, let's just say we actually have a black book here. And inside of this black book is a lot of the obstacles or the concepts of obstacles that we come up with. Some of them are hybrids of some existing obstacles that you may have seen on television. Other ones are completely unique, original obstacles that employ new mechanics. And when it comes to competitive obstacle course training or just obstacle competitions training, creating a new mechanic is probably one of the most difficult things you can do. So we typically release this when we have a job or a client that requests a unique obstacle for a gym that sort of becomes their gym that everybody knows them for, or an obstacle course like James Rivers here, where they say like, hey, we're going to get all top-of-the-line ninjas, all ones that have gone to Vegas or been to that point in time, and we need something difficult, something that's going to be up to par with their level. So that's when it's like, okay, well, let's open up the black book and see what we can create. So, all right, can you name all the obstacles at the James River course?
Can I name them right now?
Yeah. Do you know their names?
No, I don't, actually. I called the second. I couldn't even think of it. There's some kind of balance obstacle that was second. There was
you guys got the third and the fourth one right. And then, so it's the rooftop run.
The rooftop run, okay.
Because it starts off similar, It starts off similar to the quintuple steps, but it has that 90-degree turn, and then the banks close in really close together so you can build up speed, and then there's actually a really large gap. So it's supposed to simulate you actually running, like if you were a literal ninja, running between rooftops, and then you had to clear a gap of houses. So you leap off of one rooftop trying to go and catch another rooftop.
That sounds really cool.
Oh yeah, it's a really fun obstacle, and it's a little bit tricky. You had Bad News Barrier, which was the second obstacle, which we ended up having to turn that into a rope swing, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was a long rope swing. That's
actually sort of short.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's the perspective, maybe.
Yeah, it's 20 feet in length.
Okay.
And originally it was supposed to have about a 4 to 6 foot barrier that you had to leap over from your rope swing. So as you swung down, you're coming right at a wall, and you actually had to throw your body over the barrier and land on the other side without hitting the barrier. But we ran out of time, and we barely made it. We finished each course 30 minutes past, and the south course started running an hour past their start time. That's how close we pulled everything to the deadline.
Wow.
You had the Rocky Bridge. That's the third obstacle. And then the Tempered Wall, which is most of the ninjas' favorites. And then you had the Snake Ladder.
Okay. The Tempered Wall, kind of looping back for 1 second, it was a lot higher, and because of the way it was curved, I couldn't see how they could grab onto the top. Was there a lip or something for them to grab?
Yeah, on the Tempered Wall, it stands 18 feet high, and it does have a lip that is lower than its max height.
Okay. That's the only thing that made sense. I couldn't see how they could possibly get 18 feet up and grab that curve.
No. It wouldn't have been possible. That wall, we've been holding on to that design. That was one of the Black Book obstacles, and we've been waiting to build that for over 2 years now. So that wall has been modeled after a spillway from a dam that used to be in my backyard. And I was never able to make it up, and it's a completely different technique. It's familiar, but it's different. And so it throws a lot of ninjas off. And the thing is it has such a graceful curve to it. But because of the height of the wall, this curve is so long that as you start running up it, the farther you get up it, the more speed that you lose. And a lot of people are used to, on the warped wall, the curve is a lot shorter. Most recent seasons, it's become more gradual, and we think that's just to make it easier for females to make it up so they have better viewer and ratings. But most people have this little jog. They're confident on the wall. They have a little jog they come up to, and then they speed up right as they get to the wall, and then boom, they make it. But if you try that on the Tempered Wall, you'll actually lose the majority of your speed coming into your final leap, and you won't make the ledge. So you basically have to sprint all the way through it and carry your momentum into the wall. And then right as you come out, you're actually reaching forward instead of up.
That's really interesting. I can picture exactly as you're saying it. It is a totally different technique based on the way it's curved. It would totally behave differently.
Yeah. But that was, we're really proud to see that one go up, just because it's one of the ones we've just had on in that book for so long, and we're just waiting for a chance to build it. And then Snake Ladder is a fun one. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that to behave as we planned. It's a very aggressive dip, and we were hoping for a very fast acceleration through the sliding part of it. Unfortunately, when a person came down the rail, all their momentum was shooting down as the bar tries to redirect. And it didn't have a gradual enough curve, so it actually applied more friction to the rail, therefore slowing them down. So some people were barely even hitting the end of that sliding rail, therefore making it impossible for them to cover the original gap that we had planned. So that was one of our headaches that we had, is trying to figure out how to make that work and applying grease. And it ended up being that one of the youth, probably a kid around 18, 19 years old, really nice kid, and I'm there in the tool shed trying to figure out a game plan with what we're going to do with the obstacle. And this kid walks in and he's like, "Hey, Jason." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, that snake ladder? He says, I know you're trying to fix it, but how about you just throw a rope in the middle? I'm like, what? Huh. You know what? That will actually work.
Sometimes the simple solution's the best one, right?
Exactly. So that's exactly what we did. We just popped a rope in the middle to help cover that transfer distance. And, it's perfect because the rope will definitely help cover that 5-foot gap. And then it's also soft. So if a person falls back and their head or their neck or their shoulders happen to hit it, it's not going to cut them or bruise them on their way down. And then Da Vinci's hanger, we didn't get that mechanic working. We realized after we did a few test runs on the peg wheel that first wheel would knock out every single competitor that ever got to it.
So it's just a little too tough? Was it just...
There was a missing mechanic on the wheel's mechanism that we didn't foresee how much play it was going to have. And this is part of prototyping. You build one version of it. You try to expect everything that you can out of it, especially when it's something new like this. No one has ever done anything to this effect before. So it's the fact that when a person got on it, the wheel was going back and forth, and it became so difficult that a person could barely stabilize themselves and their upper body on it and transfer one peg to another peg hole. Even when we left all the pegs in there and left the wheel free rotating, it was still extremely difficult for an athlete just to complete one or two rotations. So we made a decision that, this isn't ready to operate as intended. So we screwed down all the wheels and made them static, and we left pegs in them. So you had to go through a series of static ledges and then to these loose pegs inside of the wheel. So the pegs moved and they gave some feedback just to mix up their texture and their grip a little bit. And then, they had to continue on to another series of ledges. So in the future, you're going to be seeing the more perfected version of Da Vinci's hanger.
That's very cool. I didn't even realize I had been looking at basically a prototype of it. So,
and like I said, all these obstacles is first time. We've never built the rooftop run before. The Rocky Bridge has never ever been built. The tempered wall had never been built before. Snake ladder, that combination of obstacles has never been done. Cannon reel, no one has ever done anything like that, and Da Vinci's hanger is completely new and unique.
That sounds amazing. Do you need to trademark that kind of thing, or how does that work as far as course design?
It varies and it depends on everything. A trademark is not really gonna work out. And when it comes to the name, it's just the name, and we have our name. There's no worries there. As far as the mechanics that come to it, that is a unique mechanic. But in terms of when it comes to these shows and these obstacles, we can patent it, but someone can find some small way to change it, and then it doesn't matter. That's why if you ever look into stuff with TBS, which is Tokyo Broadcasting Systems, they have no patents on any of the obstacles that have ever come out of Sasuke or American Ninja Warrior that we specifically know of. And the reason being is why isn't the warped wall, in essence, why isn't that patented? Well, then you just change 1 inch off of the curve, and now it's something else. So
I suppose, yeah, that makes some sense. And plus, a little more, I think maybe the more open source, if you want to call it that, nature of the sport has made it grow, right? So that you can have local ninja gyms and other people building them in their backyard. Exactly.
And it's more about that, You create something, and what Upstream does is we take a lot of our obstacles, other well-known obstacles, and we create our own versions of it, and then we actually sell and market build packages, which we've been doing that for about 2 years now. And what it does is allows people to jumpstart their own community, jumpstart their own backyard course, or substitute obstacles into their gymnastics gym, into their trademark CrossFit gym, and so forth. We've put about 2,500 obstacles in people's backyards and gyms around the world now.
Wow, that's impressive. That's a lot. And how many years has it been? It hasn't been that many, has it?
It's been about 2 years. That's Upstream's little legacy. It's, we're all around the world, and it's Australia, France, UK, definitely across the US. And it's not like we need to brand or trademark our stuff. So we've done about 1,800 curved walls that the plans have been purchased, and if not, they've already been built. And it's sort of, no one knows this except for us, but it's sort of a proud papa moment when every episode of ANW, when they show a person running a wall, you can actually see that it was built off of your plans.
That's interesting.
It's a proud moment for our company, and just knowing that we've been able to help out the community so much. And, everybody's backyard training gym either starts with, their version of the salmon ladder or their version of, the warped wall. And most of these people have no clue how to build them. Some of them have a very good idea. And, you can just ask within the community and be like, what is the curvature on the warped wall? What is the width of the height of it? And they'll ask the community. The community will be more than happy to provide the dimensions. But for people that don't really have that foundation of, I know how to build this, and they're like, well, where's my starting point? How do I make a curve? Those build packages, that's what comes into play. Is it helps give them a good foothold into knowing exactly what they're doing when they go to build these obstacles.
Well, I have to say the backyard gym has become synonymous with the show, and it's really great that companies like yours have helped everyone out with that and with helping to spread it throughout the world. It's such a global phenomenon at this point. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me this week. It was great talking to you. We've wanted to talk to somebody that's kind of helped put together these courses for a while, and it was great that you reached out to us so we could have this chat.
No problem. My pleasure.
Okay, and we're back. And Bijan, what did you think of the interview?
It was great, man. I really loved just all the insight he gave about, just how obstacles are built, all the intricacies that go involved with it. I really loved the conversation you guys had about the warped wall. That one was really, really interesting, especially how he describes just the differences of kind of like the evolution of the warped wall over the years and how it's been adjusted to accommodate female competitors and maybe shorter competitors a little bit more. And just, I don't know, he was very, very detailed in how he described a lot of these obstacles. I really liked it. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I remember we commented on the curved wall he had was different, right? It curved the other way around, and it was so much higher. The way he described the difference in the technique, and basically if you tried to tackle it in the same way, you were going to fail. That's really, really interesting, and I really appreciated his insight into how the mindset you need to kind of develop those kind of obstacles and to realize the challenges you're going to be putting in front of people.
Yeah, and it's always about kind of switching up technique on competitors, because when you're so just used to going a certain way at it, because like the way you see his version of the warped wall, I forget what he called it. I don't know if you remember the name of it, but it's kind of, if you see a warped wall, you kind of have to run up and then jump kind of upwards and backwards at the same time. Whereas this one, you kind of have to just lean forward and, jump upwards and forwards. And it can really, really mess up somebody that's just completely used to doing a technique a specific way. So I really appreciated that. And I hope American Ninja Warrior, the producers of that show, kind of take, like coverage from how he does it, and kind of just switches up obstacles in the way competitors use technique in many ways.
Yeah, it would definitely seems like there's some lessons that can be learned and some obstacles they could get them to collaborate on. If this little black book has things half as interesting as Da Vinci's Hanger, then I'd love to see him get that working properly and have a fully functional one with that moving pegs and the ledge that moves, and it sounds crazy.
Sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Jason, for being on the show. The whole thing was very cool. So if you get a chance, check out Upstream Designs at www.upstreamdesigns.com. If you need some serious ninja design skills from the Ninja Architect. He also wanted to give credit to Accurate Staging, that's the production company, and all the volunteers that helped make that labor-intensive project a reality.
Yeah, shout out to everybody involved. It was really fun to watch, and huge thank you to him for doing the interview. It was really, really interesting. I really liked it.
Okay, so moving on to our video of the week. This week, it's another ANW8 application video, this time from Drew Marinelli, who sent us in his video now that he unfortunately wasn't chosen for the show. And if you check out his application video, you'll be wondering why we were. It's a really good video. What did you think of it, Bijan?
It was awesome, man. I thought it was hilarious. And not just that, I mean, I can't believe he wasn't chosen. He got what was it? He made the finals of, God, I forget which final. St. Louis qualifiers, that's what it was. He made it to the St. Louis qualifiers. It's like, why is this guy not chosen, at least given a chance? His story was great. His video was great. It was actually really, really funny. I love the ending. Shout out to him for that. That was awesome. I think we're going to see him again. He is just way too good to not be on again. He's really young, too. He's only 23, so he's going to have plenty more opportunities.
Yeah, it showed him coaching kids. Talked about having to overcome an injury. An overall good story, and then it really picks up, and he goes into like showing off his skills, and it was all good. I loved it. He had like a rolling log type obstacle, and man, that thing was just booking it down the hill, and he had to make this big leap off of it to complete the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought he was going to eat it on that one. I was like, oh boy. But he made it. And not just that, he was doing like the warped wall with no build. Like he's starting at the base of the warped wall and just running up it and jumping in. That is incredibly difficult to do. So big props to him for that.
Yeah, and if the markings on was accurate, I think it was a 17-foot warped wall too.
Yeah. So just that dude's got hops. I almost said jumps. Dude's got hops.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, he messaged us back in January and said if we have any questions about the warped wall, it's his specialty. So now we see why he get to show that off a bit.
I might be picking his brain soon about that one. That warped wall is not easy for me.
No, that was the one thing that tripped you up, wasn't it? You were kind of surprised at how some of the other ones weren't too bad, ones that you thought might be tricky.
Yeah. The ones I was worried about, no problem. Warped wall, big problem. I was like, there's no way. Like, I think it was more of, if I mess up, I'm going to break my neck on this thing. So maybe it's a psychological thing where I just need to get over it and just go for it,
Yeah, I've seen that mentioned a few times, that basically the warped wall, a lot of it is psychological. You got to drive yourself at this wall and overcome that fear.
Yeah, just throw caution to the wind. Eventually, I will. I've only tried it like 2 times, and it was on the same day. So if I'm in the right mindset and I have more confidence in what I can do, I have a feeling I can conquer it. It's not something I feel like it's impossible or anything like that. But enough about me, man. Yeah, it was a really cool video. Big ups to Drew. I think we're going to see him again, and he's incredibly impressive. I really love this video.
Yeah, I think my favorite part had to be at the end. Everybody's calling. Oh, he goes by, I don't think we mentioned yet, the Anomaly. And everybody giving him a shout out at the end around the gym. And then one person fumbling over it, like in Finding Nemo with the Anomaly.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, thanks, Drew, for sending that in. Best of luck next year. And thanks for reaching out to us.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Okay, and one thing we want to make a correction on this week. On the last episode, we talked about the prize being reduced to $500,000. We had a number of sources that seemed to be indicating that, but it's been corrected. It seems like it actually is $1 million. So we apologize for that. We thought we had reliable information, but just to correct that, the prize is still $1 million. But there has been a switch that it will be shared if more than one person completes stage 4, which is still an awesome change.
Yes, that is all we need. And for the misinformation before, I need a shame bell. Shame on us. But the most important thing is that the winners will be sharing the cash prize. I think this is a huge huge improvement over last season. I think the most important thing is the producers and the people behind the show have listened to the fans, and this is all for the better. It's going to be more about the chorus rather than competitors competing against each other.
That reminds me. So just after the final last year was when I did my interview with Matt Eisman, and he asked me what I would have done differently. He was a little defensive, I guess, about the whole thing, thinking that that was part of the whole deal and what I suggest. And I said they should split the prize. That was my suggestion. So I'm going to go with the fact that they listened to me directly. And so you're welcome, everybody. I'm glad I could fix that for us, so that we won't have that problem again.
Oh, thank you, Rich. It was all you, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure Matt went running right back to the production and said, "Oh my God, do you realize that the Armchair Ninja podcast has a solution for us?"
Yeah. Sorry, if you could see how hard I'm rolling my eyes right now. Oh boy.
I'm sure all 5 of our listeners back then really were really supporting us. Again, can't apologize enough that we missed that one. We'll always do what we can to correct misinformation if we've provided it. So, and we'll do even a better job of not getting that misinformation to begin with.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the important part is it was all cleared up, and it seems as though one of the biggest, I guess, faux pas from the show's history has been corrected, and that's all I can ask for. Exactly.
Yep, learned and moved on, so that's great. So now my curiosity is killing me here, Bijan. Bijan's been kind of toying with me all evening here. He's got some announcement that he won't let me in on, and I got to hear it now. So what's going on?
Well, speaking of which, everybody, I have a big announcement. On May 19th, our May 19th episode, we are going to have an American Ninja Warrior Season 8 preview special episode. And not just that, we are going to be joined by a third co-host. And guess who it is? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. The first ever American Ninja Warrior, Geoff Britten.
Woo! All right.
Yeah, so he's going to be joining us, and he wants you all of our listeners, to basically email us, message us, however you want to get in touch with us. Rich will go over all the ways to contact us in a bit. Send in your talking points, your questions, anything you want us to cover in that episode. Just send it to us, and we're going to do our best to cover all the topics that you want us to cover. It's going to be a really, really fun conversation with him, and he's really, really excited to be on this show and just talk to all the Armchair Ninjas with us. It's going to be really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we're going to have Geoff on the show to answer questions with us. So it's not going to be an interview format like we've had previously. He's going to be co-hosting, kind of like Cameron did a few weeks ago with us. We're going to be covering everything we can, questions, speculation, what you want to see, what you like, what you don't like. That's great, man. I can't wait for that episode. That should be so much fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure Geoff is breathing a huge sigh of relief hearing about the cash, the person splitting the cash prize at the end. I'm sure he is ecstatic about that one. I'm ready to pick his brain on that front as well.
Yeah, for sure. All eyes are on Geoff this season, and I'm going to get to see it live. Can't wait.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm rooting for it. But I'm really excited for that conversation, and more so just talking about this upcoming season. We're going to be previewing the season, and well, you basically covered most of the talking points. But I'm really interested in seeing what the listeners have to say and what they want us to talk about. Please, if you have anything for what you want to talk about, just send it to us, because I'm really excited to hear what you want us to talk about more than anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we do ask for feedback, every week, but don't feel like it has to be positive. It's constructive feedback, always good. One thing that I've questioned a few times, but I've never heard any negative feedback on, is when we tackle an episode, when we review an episode, we tend to go through it point by point, beginning to end, very chronologically. If you all would prefer that we jump around and we just talk in a more general sense, definitely let us know that kind of stuff. It just tends to naturally flow like that right now, but we can definitely switch things up if you find it kind of drags on. Anything that you want to to throw our way, we'll definitely take that feedback.
Yeah, I'm more on the highlights side, but that's just me. I'm interested to see how everybody else feels about it. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I hope you guys are too. It's going to be a really interesting conversation leading into American Ninja Warrior Season 8, and I'm ecstatic for the show to come back in general. These next few months are going to be really exciting, Rich. I hope you're ready, man.
I am definitely ready. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait. It's Team Ninja Warrior all over again, where it's just the excitement's building and building and building, and it's just gonna...
Oh yeah, I'm sure you're gonna feel it even more when you're at the taping coming up.
Yeah, that's gonna be intense. I can't even imagine, because I was so excited at the main Warrior gym when I went there to see that. Being at a live taping of that show, of any show really, I don't go live tape. I'm so far from anything. I'm in the middle of the wilderness here. Like, it's just a tiny little city in the middle of nowhere, and to go to a taping for a big show like that is just going to be exciting.
Can't wait to hear your opinion of it, man.
So that is it for this week. We had a interesting episode. We talked to a course designer, and if you'd like to design your own course and build one for yourself, you can go to our website. That's ninjapodcast.com. Click on the link for Atomic Climbing Holds, and they'll help hook you up. You can use our promo code of podcast and save yourself 10% off your purchase. If you have other suggestions for topics for the show, we do have roughly a month left before we get into the season, and we're going to be pretty back-to-back for a couple of months that way. So if you have any suggestions for the topics over the next few weeks, definitely reach out to us. You can reach us at rich@ninjapodcast.com. We are on Twitter. That's @ninjapodcast. Or you can also reach us on Facebook. So once again, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great week.
Deuces.
A special thanks to Kathleen Martin for the song Player v Player Remastered from bandcamp.com.
Thank you all for listening and have a lovely day.